Okay. Thank you everybody for being here with me tonight. My name is Professor Kalsee Kohs. This is the Divination Academy, and this is Sex Magic Part 2 class in my Magic and Witchcraft Basics series that I have been doing. If you missed Part 1, it should get uploaded to YouTube. It was recorded, so you'll definitely be able to catch that. And then there is a study guide for that topic and everything that we covered in that class already on divinationacademy.com if you don't know what that is, and if you're a new student watching the replay. Also, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, please send us a DM to our Facebook page to get enrolled as a student. And then you can also find us on our website, divinationacademy.com, with a bunch of resources, study guides, all of that fun stuff. Okay, we're going to jump into class tonight, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here with me. Sex Magic Part 2. I will do a really brief rundown of kind of what I went over last week. Like I said, super brief. I'm going to do like the basics of what sex magic is. And then tonight we're going to be focusing more on the lust magic part of sex magic. And that magic is all about enhancing your sexual experience, enhancing your sexual pleasure, enhancing your partner's sexual pleasure and sexual experience, about actually rekindling that connection. You have the possibility with lust magic as well to enhance libido if you need to in any way, shape, or form. You also have the ability with lust magic to open up communication, to be willing and able to be comfortable to express to your partner what it is that you actually need, and to be able to figure out what it is that your actual sexual desires are. So that's another part of that lust magic that is really great and amazing. I love, that's actually one of my personal favorite parts. Huge part of my marriage, huge part of my sex life, huge part of my connection with my husband is that part, is making sure that we are having that magic and that energy be part of it, where we're always open and willing to communicate to each other, like what we need, if things need to change. And that helps that spark not go away as well. That helps that sexual energy and that sexual connection stay connected with you guys. And it helps it flourish, which is another part of lust magic as well, is making sure that like that spark's there. Like, sometimes sex life gets boring. Like, let's be honest, like it happens. Like, I've been with my husband for 13 years. Like, we've had to change it up repeatedly, because sometimes like it just needs, like, you need to rekindle that. So lust magic can also help you with that. The other part that we'll talk about tonight is adding deities to sex magic. It is an easy thing to do, but it's an encompassing thing as well, because it's a lot of extra energy that's there. And for me personally, the way that I work with deities and the way that I teach working with deities, I don't particularly like people just calling in random deities for sex magic and for sex work and for things like that without having a basis of a relationship first. Which is why I kind of separated this out a little bit too, is because I feel like that is important. You can just call to them if you would like. That's going to be something that you're going to have to work out ethically and morally, how you feel about that in your own practice and how you feel about in your own way. I do have a list of deities that are known to be used throughout sex magic. I personally do not work with all of them, but I can walk through, I know people who have. I've done the research of how and why you can connect to them in that way, shape, or form. Personally, in my life, when it comes to sex magic, I call on Lilith. If I'm doing solo work and by myself, she's one of my favorite energies to come into with sex magic. And then when it comes to like with my partner being involved, with my husband being involved, and like cosmic sex magic, all of that, I actually usually pull in Persephone and Hades, and that they're not commonly used for that. I personally use them because of my personal connection to them, because of the epic love story that they have together, and because, I really consider myself a vessel for her, for Persephone. So like, it just makes so much sense for me to have her be a part of that. And then my husband, the representation of Hades and that connection. So that's personally what I do. But again, I'll go over the common ones that most people use, and we'll go over through all that. Before we get going, do we have any questions, any comments, anything that needs to get brought up after part 1 happened? So is there anything that anybody needs to bring up now, that they want to re-ask questions, anything that they would like to be reviewed, brought up, anything like that? Now you can ask it, bring up anything. If you did work with it, you want to talk to me about it, you certainly can. But that's totally up to you. I love that you second that. I love that you second that. It makes me happy. Yes, I love using Lilith. Lilith is super, super great for solo work. I love using her for solo work. Eros can be really great for solo work too. He's just more of that masculine energy. So like sometimes him and I like don't jive quite that well, but I do like using. I love using Lilith. Um, yeah, I love using Lilith. I'm not a big like Aphrodite fan, so I don't go that route. But a lot of people do. A lot of people have great, great, great experiences with Aphrodite. Okay, so I don't see any comments. I don't see any questions. So I will jump into the study guide. Let me just get it pulled up. If you have trauma around sex, is there deities that can help you through that? Yes, there definitely is. Lilith's going to be a big one that I'm going to really recommend for that. Lilith will be huge for that. Also, she's not a deity. But I like to use her in almost like a deity archetype energy. Because her story is so important, it's so potent, it's so powerful, and she becomes this whole figure in her own. But Medusa is actually really, really great for that as well. Because of her story and because of everything that happens to her, and the power that she gets to claim because of that. She's like I said, she's not necessarily a deity, but she can be worked in like a really powerful magnitude in that sense. But I personally really love working with Lilith when it comes to like sexual trauma and things like that. And that's the one that I hear and I read about and I see the most people being able to connect to when it comes to her, when it comes to like sexual trauma and things like that, is Lilith is really, really good with that. I hope that helps and I hope that answers that question for you. And yeah, also like doing that a lot of solo work with Lilith and making sure like with sex trauma, solo work is going to be really important with that. And working on using her to help manifest self-worth and healing and letting go. So that's something that she can help with that as well. And it's beautiful. It's really liberating with her. Yes, Natalia. Yeah, I love Medusa. I love working with Medusa in a lot of senses. But she's fabulous in this sense. She's also fabulous in the sense of justice. I really like that as well with her. So it's really great. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So let me see. We will jump in. Thank you for asking those. Those are great questions to ask, especially with this topic. So I absolutely appreciate that and being willing to ask those because those are vulnerable topics to ask about. So let's see what is going on with my computer here. Okay, there we go. So we are in the Sex Magic Part 2 study guide, just to make sure that you are in the right one, because we do have, like I said, I have two. I might jump back and forth between the two sometimes, just because some of the stuff I didn't want to write twice, to be perfectly honest. I've been writing a lot lately, so. So when it comes to sex magic, as an overall overview, like I said, if you missed part 1, or if for some reason this is the first video that you're getting to watch instead of part 1 and you're watching the replay, so most people would argue that all sex is magic, which I agree, but sex magic itself is like a completely different concept. It's a completely different added energy. It's a completely different added practice. What it really does is it summons energy that's completely locked inside your body, and you use that as you use your orgasms as a vehicle to be able to manifest. That's how we talked about it last week, was using it in a manifestation vehicle. You end up using that very orgasmic vibrations, those spells to intensify things. You use your climax to be able to bring forth any type of manifestation energy that you need. For any type of thing, you can use it to open up portals. Sex magic is really about making a creation of seeding really what you want to be able to birth out into the world. It's really this birthing process that you get to do with that energy. You get to manipulate that energy and change that energy. You have the ability to utilize sex magic solo or with a partner. You can do it with a partner, like any partner. You can do it with multiple partners if you would like, even more than just one partner. It's really going to be up to you and your ethical viewpoints, your moral standpoints, and your relationship around sex as well. That's something that I talked about a lot last week as well. When it comes to sex magic, please make sure that you do the shadow work, the inner work, especially that I talked about the week before, about how you actually personally feel about sex, what your relationship is to sex, to make sure that you have a clear vision of like what you need to do to work through things, if you need to work through things, and use that sex magic to help you work through it. Or, you know, if you can use it to truly manifest, empower, and go for a little bit more different intentions. So understanding your relationship with sex, how you feel about sex, and how you relate to it helps you gear and direct your sex magic towards the proper intentions and how you are going to be able to use it. And if you're going to be able to use it by yourself or with others, if you need tools added, and we talked about that last week as well, to where you have the ability to add herbs and candles and other tools and things like that to be able to enhance that experience as well. So like I said, last week we talked a lot about using sex magic as manifestation and as energy and as healing. And then we talked a lot about like the cosmic part of sex magic, which is that really, really intense divine connection that you get with your partner. I really don't know if it came through last week, and I'm going to try my best now even, but like when you are utilizing sex magic and cosmic sex magic, specifically as well, it really intensifies that intimacy. It intensifies that connection between your partner. It creates this absolute portal of energy that's flowing from every single chakra point of yours through your partner's, every single one of your partner's chakra points. And it just creates this massive portal of connection and energy. And it's literally this most like mind-shattering, earth-shattering experience. And if you can have it over and over again, why wouldn't you? So that's sorry, like that's just what I love about it too. Personally, for me, my husband and I, like we have been together for multiple lifetimes. And so like when this happens, like we get full access to like certain parts of our past and certain parts of our relationship, and like the connection that we have is just, it's absolutely like, I can't use any other word, I guess, besides cosmic. Like it really opens you up. It opens up this soul, this communication, and this energy. And I talked about that a lot in part 1 as well. So that is really a rundown, kind of what I went over last week with you guys, and really how to do solo sex magic too. I went into that in pretty big detail too. So do we have any questions here on the overview and rundown from last week? Okay, so Morgan, your question. In the last class, you mentioned that any images should be from yourself. Do you suggest avoiding pornography when using sex magic? I have a very gray line when it comes to this. It depends on you and your partner, and it depends on you and your partner's personal belief on pornography. You guys need to be on the same page, and you need to be on the same page. I personally prefer, and I mentioned using all of your images being from yourself, because the intention behind it's going to be stronger, because that's an image that you created. That is an image that literally your mind changed and morphed the energy to create what you wanted to see. So that's why I feel like using images from yourself. But if pornography is something that you need to stimulate because you're not somebody that can visually visualize that, I understand possibly needing to use that. And then again, there's also the ethical and moral question about how that fits into your relationship. If you are with a partner that sees pornography as cheating, no, do not use that in sex magic work. I don't find that respectful, and I just don't think that's okay, especially if you're using that with a partner. If you're doing solo sex magic, that's again going to depend on what type of understanding you and your partner have on the morality of pornography and the use of pornography. Is your partner okay with you even masturbating without them? Because that's something that you have to figure out as well. Some partners aren't okay with that. They think that that's cheating. So you have to weigh in like also your relationship into this as well. And do you want to follow the boundaries of your relationship, or is creating that sex magic more important? So there's a couple different things to kind of consider with that. Personally, up until very recently, I was on the bandwagon that pornography was a type of cheating. So like I definitely probably never even would have considered adding it to my sex magic. That recently has changed. and it has changed some different things within it and has made things a little bit more different. So it really, really depends on that. But like I said, I prefer, like I had said before, like the intention is just going to be stronger when it's an image that you're creating instead of one that's being put in front of you. And the stimulation is going to be different too. I really hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know. Link for the first study guide. Let me grab it here. There we go. Fabulous. Got that in there. Okay. Looks like it answered the question. I hope it did. Fabulous. If it didn't, you can ask again. Okay, so I don't see anything else. I don't see any hand raised. Fabulous. We'll jump in then to what we're going to really do tonight. So, because we're talking about lust magic and lust magic within sex magic, we're really talking about it because it's, like I said, it's not uncommon to hear that couples get frustrated over the loss of like intimacy, over the loss of the spark, over the loss of fun, over the loss of like really having that euphoric experience with their partner when they're having sex. Whether it's because of stresses of life, whether it's because there's other things going on, whether it's because of mental health, which is, it can decrease the libido. It can make somebody feel, like it can make that sex, it can make somebody feel like they're not even worthy of having sex, which can change that dynamic. It can make that spark kind of disappear. It's hard to make it really have that big spark and that big oomph if you don't feel worthy. So this lust magic can also kind of help with that as well, because there's like I said, there's a lot of things that can change. Kids can change it, your desires can change of what you want. What you simply thought, like what you needed and what was stimulating enough before may not be now. Like your needs can change, what you want changes. Mine changes all the time, like all the time. All the time it's like, oh, this is the kink that I'm in. This is the kink that I'm all about. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, I'm not stimulated by that anymore. So I need to switch. And that can happen within a relationship, like I said, for so many reasons. So lust magic is really, really about, like I said, it's about enhancing that when you need help enhancing it. It's about enhancing libido if you need help with that for any reason. It's about restoring that connection. It's about igniting that flame. It's about being able and willing to communicate with your partner about any needs that may be different and things that you just literally just being willing to communicate, not feeling shy or embarrassed or like you're going to be judged. And like that helps open that up with that as well. And like, because if things get boring and you're not communicating with each other to like try to like fix it or even letting the other person know, how is it going to change? Like that communication needs to be there. And I really feel like lust spells really, really help with that. They really help open that up. And I think that's a key part a lot of people forget about, because that lust and that attraction gets intensified, which then obviously is going to help make you blossom and open up and really want to experience sex in the way that you want to experience it. And again, it helps you reintroduce any type of spark into your relationship, any type of sexual attraction into your relationship. And again, you can do this solo or with your partner. You can do lust magic to enhance like your experience for yourself. There is no reason why, if you are doing solo work, you can't have as an amazing as an orgasm as if you were working with your partner. So if you want to do this solo, you definitely can use lust magic for solo work as well. You just would tweak any of the chants or any of the verbiages, and you would just make sure that there's not like the target is you. You would make sure that your target is being directed at you instead of being directed outwards towards somebody else. Again, like I touched back in before, when it comes to with sex magic, the previous class, also with lust magic, you can use elements like candles and herbs and oils, and obviously, visualization and meditation to help focus and bring you into that element. Personally, candles is a huge thing that I love to use for lust magic. I think almost every single lust magic spell or like increasing libido spell or anything like that that I have done or ritual, it almost always includes candles. I love the candles. I love the focal point. I love the added colors that it brings into it. And I almost always use red candles specifically because Sex magic really sits in that red passionate love energy. Like it really sits in all of that, whether it's from a chakra standpoint, from an aura standpoint, from so many different standpoints. Like it really sits in that energy. So I really like to bring that up. And it also brings up that passion, that flame. It brings in that fire element, and it really enhances it. There's so many different herbs that can be used, so many different herbs that can be used in lust magic. It's really going to depend on what your preferences and what you like to mix together and what really your goal is, depending on that you can use. Some of them that you have that are going to be great to use. Basil is a super great one. It helps awaken all of your senses. Violet is an amazing one to use because it's really considered a very effective aphrodisiac across the entire world. So violet is a really awesome one to use. It's used in a lot of lust spells, even love spells, but a lot of lust spells. Lavender is super awesome because it helps boost your confidence, because it's really about creating like better concentration and calm altered moods and calm altered states. So when you add this to like a lust spell, like it really helps boost your confidence, and it like makes you be really centered in the concentration of what you're doing and really centered in what you want. And it can help increase sex drive as well. Holly is another great one that you can use. Specifically because it is usually known to like ward off like bad energy. So when lust spells, you're ending up warding off any of that negativity that might be binding you, might not be letting you fully liberate yourself and let your sexual energy and sexual desires out. That's why I really like to use this when it comes to any type of lust spells. Rosemary, this is widely used across many different practices to be known for love and enhancing confidence and enhancing faith and loyalty and like determination in another person. So to have confidence and trust and faith in your partner can help into that like that lustful feeling as well. Roses are another great thing to be able to use because they're all about love, and lust and love are tied together. So you do get to help enhance that. You get to help that enhance the emotional connection part to the lust, to increase that experience and to increase that spell. You can also use any aphrodisiacs that you would love, that you would like to use. Cacao is a great aphrodisiac. You can use blue lotus. You can use damania. I'm probably pronouncing it right, but Damiana. Super powerful aphrodisiac. I see it in a lot of spells. I personally use cacao a lot and blue lotus a lot. I prefer those two. For one, I think cacao is just a little bit easier to get a hold of. Especially nowadays. It's becoming a very popularly used herb. It's becoming a very popular used tool. A lot of people are starting to use it. You can also do things with lust spells, like you can enhance the aroma of the room, not only with candles, but you can do room sprays, you can do incense, so many different things. And you can use, like I said, any of the things, any of the herbs that we talked about, like any of them that will help enhance that. Plus any aroma that turns you on. You might have your own smell that's going to like enhance that experience for you. Don't be afraid to add it. Like, don't think that you have to like go down this specific list. If there's a certain smell that like really just gets you going, like you can certainly add it to lust magic. There's no reason for that, or like there's no reason for it really not to be, unless it has a property that's like the direct opposite of what you're trying to call in. That's the only thing that I would just make sure to be aware of. So just double check that. Okay, let's see. Okay. I'm gonna jump in the chat just to see if you guys have any questions. I went over quite a bit there, so. Is it safe to apply? Oh, yes. Yes, Morgan. Is it safe to apply herbs and oils directly to your sexual organs? Yes, with the disclaimer, as long as you do not have an allergy to them. And then please, depending on like the oil or the herbs that you use, if you do directly place them on your sexual organs, make sure you clean yourself afterwards. Like make sure like you really like clean your sexual organs afterwards. Like you should be doing that every time you have to sex after having sex anyways. Just to, make sure that you don't get any type of infections or anything like that. So yeah, you can definitely do that. There's not a problem with that. I have literally directly added herbs to lube. That is definitely that's something that you can do. You can add oils directly to lubrication. If it's something that you use in your sex life, not everybody does. For allergy reasons. So like I totally understand that. Okay, honey, go ahead.
Also, if you're concerned about if you're not sure if you're allergic to something, test it on like the inside of your arm or that first to make sure you don't have a reaction to it then.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, thank you, honey. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And, and no problem. I have a lot of allergies, so I'm used to things like that.
I'm just so used to just like dealing with the allergies, I kind of forget about that, to be perfectly honest.
You're good.
Okay, what do you got for me?
Is there a second study guide? You said you're going to bounce
Yeah.
between the two of them.
Yeah, did I give you the one for tonight?
I don't know. I've switched devices, so I've
So
lost
I
track
will, give me
twice.
1 second. Let me just make sure. So I have the study guide for part two, which is for
Hmm.
tonight. And then I have the one from part one that I might jump into every now and then, just depending. And then I really was in it just for the overview. I wanted to make sure that I overviewed what we talked about last week. But that link right there is the one for tonight. Is that the one that you have?
No, it's not. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Did you have a question or was it just to get the study guide?
No, just a study guide. I just
Okay,
didn't want to type.
awesome. I get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's get into kind of the nitty gritty of how lust spells and sex magic like really work, how lust spells specifically work. Um, and some people really wonder like, do they actually work? Yes, they do. I will personally attest to it. Yes, they do. They do, and they really, really work really well. So they do work. And like I've talked about before, they work for so many reasons. They help create a healthy relationship. They make sure that both of your partners, if you're doing this with a partner, are satisfied and fulfilled. It also, like I said, it works in a way to where it helps that if problems arise, then one partner isn't going to always remain unfulfilled. Because I personally, like, this has happened in my relationship back and forth where, one of us is just like really like because of, mental health reasons or other reasons, like the needs just aren't getting met. And so like you really have to like be willing to like open that up and talk about it. And if problems arise, figure out why and how to work through it. And if, somebody's expectations for needs just need to be lowered or, anything like that. So it really helps like with that problems arising. That's really a big reason why the lust and sex magic really works. And then you also have the attraction part of the lust spells. So it really, really helps attract and wake up lost passions. It helps and attract and wake up lost attraction. And it helps really create and attract a need for physical love. Well, like I said, whether it's with somebody else or with yourself, you can do this with both. If I'm talking a lot about with a partner, it's just because I've been with mine for 13 years. Sometimes it's just a little bit hard to remember. I do a lot of solo work too, but most of my stuff is with my partner. It is with my husband. So, but again, you can do this, like I said, solo or with a partner. But it really, really awakens that lost passion, that lost lust, that lost physical need for like you really do need to experience like orgasms. Like you need to like that getting that energy out and getting that chakra flowing and like you really do need to experience that. And mental health wise, like there's just so many reasons why you need to experience it. I could literally go on a tangent for hours on that, to be honest. So I'm gonna reel myself in on that one. Um, what they like talked a lot about what they can do for you. So benefits, like I said, reigniting your passion, your lust and sexual attraction. And a lot of times too, a big, big benefit with this is reestablishing a connection with your partner if there's been issues going on. Because it can be really disheartening to another partner if they feel like that spark's gone and like they don't understand why. They can feel like they're the problem. Like, are you suddenly like, am I suddenly not attractive enough? Like, is like they can feel like it's really their issue. And so like when problems arise and like that communication isn't there, and this is the reason why you're starting to use less spells, it really, really helps increase that intimacy and understanding. And it helps break away and shed away any unintentional hurt that may have been caused. Because I feel like that's a lot of this, that like a lot of, I think that's missed a lot when it comes to the reason why lust spells end up being used, especially when it comes to the partner being involved. Like there's a lot of unintentional hurt that your partner may have caused you if there's that lack of connection, or if needs aren't being fulfilled, or if anything like that. And there's unintended hurt that you could have caused your partner. And this really like lust magic really like pulls you together to dissolve that and to break that away. And it makes you feel super, super comfortable with that. One disclaimer that I will give to with these lust spells, with, you know, sex life spells, with, I have a lot of actual practical written out spells in the study guide for you. This study guide is a lot more spell work than I normally have in here. And I'm going to go through it with you guys. But if you don't feel comfortable doing any of these, you can always ask another witch to do it, or another spellcaster to do it. If you don't feel like you want to perform these yourself, you can always get somebody else to do it. I have done plenty of lust spells on friends of mine and on others that are in relationships that I know that are struggling because they've asked for it, and they aren't witches themselves, but they want something to try to help their relationship because something, you know, the spark just isn't there. So you can always ask somebody else as well to perform these for you. So I did want to put that disclaimer in there because, like I said, some people, they might not be comfortable because this is, you know, maybe morally they want to use it, but morally in their magic, they don't want to perform it themselves, or, you know, they're just not that comfortable with their sex life. I will be perfectly honest, I'm very open and super comfortable with my sex life and with sex, and I know that a lot of people aren't. So it could just be that that could be part of it, and that could be a barrier for a little bit until these spells are performed and they help reawaken and open that for you. So you can always get another practitioner to perform these for you as well. And I don't know if I said that last class, so I did want to make sure that I touched on it this class. When it comes to these love spells and lust spells, they're almost always about, like I touched about before, which is red magic. And it's, a lot of people call it, and it's other terms called magic of love. You'll see it as sex magic, sexual magic, lust magic, but it's actually a very specific occult discipline that is used to operate within the interventions of both your physical body, your spiritual body, and the sexual environment. So it works through love, ligaments and returns, sexual ligaments, ligaments and rituals for different loves, love rituals, love spells, magical love rituals, like reapproachments together, strengthening of relationships and couples. It also focuses on prevention of breakups. It works on empowering and intimate relationships between partners. It's a very ritualistic type of magic that's performed. And this red magic works exceptionally well when you're working on awakening and increasing sensations, when you're working on increasing like an extraordinary, especially like when you really want to enhance it in it with extreme intensity. So these almost always have incredibly powerful reactions. Like I said, these work. Sex plus magic spells work. It is a very powerful, arousing sense of love, a very powerful, arousing sexual pleasure. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. My foot's falling asleep and I need to move it. So it's really like, that's really what that, like I said, touched on before, like that red energy, that red sense, that red energy, like it's a very specific practice. There are other also, by the way, lust magic practices I don't have in the study guide. And I don't have it because they are restricted practices. And if you've been to any of my classes before, from my own moral, like witchcraft, magical, pagan morality, I will learn and study as much as I possibly can about restricted practices on my own, but I will not teach it and I will not perform it myself because I want to honor the fact that it is restrictive. And until I am actually like legitimately trained by somebody within that restricted practice and within that restricted culture, I won't go any further. But there are practices that focus on lust magic a lot, like hoodoo and voodoo. There's also the Obeah earth magic. Like if you haven't heard about that, like that's a very, very, like it's pretty restrictive to the point where I'd almost say it's closed. But it's pretty restrictive. when it comes to like its members and its practice, and it's a very dedicated, very, very dedicated discipline. But their lust magic and sex magic, it is incredibly powerful, it's incredibly intense. So if that is something that you need, I would highly recommend reaching out to a practitioner of that specific branch of magic. If you need something incredibly intense and powerful, because that would be the branch that I would go to. But again, like I said, for my own personal moral reasons, I know about it. I have studied it myself, but it's a restricted practice. So I don't like, I don't like speaking for something that's restrictive. Okay. So after that, so those are the types of set lust magic that you can use. Okay, we're gonna get into like legit actual spells, here. Before I do that, I want to talk about the basis. So if you don't want to do like an actual ritualistic spell, you don't want to include tools, you don't want to do any of that, and you want to do lust magic based solely on energy and energy work and based solely on like energy work, you certainly can do that. You can do that without any tools. I do have a couple in here that are without tools. Personally, that's what I do most often is the energy work. I try to not use tools as often as possible because I don't always plan for I don't plan for my sex life. I really don't. My sex life, and honestly I feel like it's more active than most. So oh, thank you. Sorry, I just jumped in the chat. Thank you for that. I really like that. Yes, I try to be as respectful as I can. Honey, I will spell that for you. There we go. Okay, so you can do it, like I said, without any tools, without anything like that. It's really just using that energy and really using visualization. When doing that, I recommend planning ahead of time, like the words and verbiage that you would like to use. It's just a little bit easier. If you don't want to do it that way, you don't have to. Again, it's your practice, you do it how you want. But how you would do this without any type of tools or anything like that is you are going to really get into a meditative state, sacred space, whatever it is that you need to do, but you're going to really ground and you're going to center yourself. Then you are going to visualize exactly what it is you want your sex life to look like, what you want it to feel like, what you want it to sound like, what you want it to taste like, what you want it to smell like, every position you want to be a part of it. Are there toys involved? Like, what is it that you are really, really lusting that you want to be a part of your sex life? You are going to very vividly create that image and visualization in your mind while making sure that you are having that red energy encompassing around you. So when you're in that meditative state, you're going to make sure that you bring in that red energy when you first start grounding yourself. You're going to visualize exactly what you want your sex life to be. And then you're going to recite and say out loud that intention. You're going to make sure you keep that in your mind, and you're going to recite out loud your name. If you're doing it just by yourself, you're then going to say your target's name as you. Your verbiage is going to be whatever. I'm going to just give you the framework, and then I'll give you an example. You're going to say your name, and then you're going to say your target. If it's your partner, if it's your spouse, if it's somebody you don't know, if it's some rando that you want to plug in there, if it's whoever it is, if it's whatever it is that you're lusting for your sex life, whatever it is, you're going to put that target in there. Whoever it is, you're going to put that target in there. You're going to say that target. And then you're going to release and say after that, I call forth this lust energy, this energy of red into my sex experience that I am about to happen. That is about to happen. Amen, aho, so mote it is. Then you let it go. That is what you are calling to you. That is the energy that will be with you when you go through that next sexual experience. I personally prefer to perform this, like if I know that I'm having sex that day, which honestly it's very often, I will do it in the morning just in case it gets sprung up on me. If I know that I'm going to be having it at a certain time at night, I will do it like an hour to 30 minutes ahead of time. If all of a sudden it's sprung on me, I may even just do it right then and there. There are times to where I actually am casting a lust magic spell during foreplay. Because if you have the ability to vividly set that intention and you are in sacred space while doing that because you're connected to your partner, you have the ability to do that. Sacred space and getting into meditative state is whatever you need it to be for that specific ritual and spell. There are times where I'm gonna be kind of, I guess, a little vulgar here. I really like to suck dick. So there are times to where like literally that is, I am using that to be able to get me into my meditative state. I am using that to be able to get me into that place, to be able to then cast that lust spell to enhance the rest of my experience the rest of that time. So you have that ability to do that if you want to do it just with energy and if you want to do it just with manifestation. Okay, before I get into more practical stuff, and because I was kind of I was pretty personal there. Do we have any questions or any comments or anything when it comes to that? Because I want to make sure, like, if you want to do this without any type of tools, you know how to do that.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I missed so many of your classes with my schedule. The last time I was in your classes when you did Lilith.
Oh,
So,
it's been
that's been a
a
couple
while then.
months ago.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
I recognize you, but yeah,
I
it's been a
know.
while. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
So I have a question. You guys popped up tonight for the part two, so I missed part one.
Yes.
My question is most sex magic, hold on, my kids are busting in the room. Hold on. Sorry, my 6-year-old has everybody over here.
It's okay.
Most classes that I have taken, they've always said that you use the retention of the orgasm for manifestation. Do you agree with that or no?
Yes and no, because you can use retention. So there are two kind of different ways to do that. And I talked about in part one too. There are two different ways that I view it. You can use the release part for the manifestation. Otherwise, I totally understand the retention part to where you build it up and you don't let it go. You build it up and you don't let it go. And you build it up and you don't let it go. And you make sure that like you have as much orgasmic energy filled up as possible so that when you do manifest, you can explode it out as much as you possibly can. So I understand both aspects and I
Okay.
have used it in both ways.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It did.
Yay,
I have
awesome.
more questions, but I have to keep in mind that this is being recorded for YouTube.
You can always DM me too afterwards. I usually answer my DMs within a couple days. So you can always DM me and ask me any questions too. I love this topic, so I have no problem talking about it.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Because I do work for myself and clients, and
Yeah.
have you already, or are you going to discuss the side effects, the obsession?
I have not talked about that, but I have thought about doing
Woo! Because I could
a
tell
small
you a
chunk on that.
story, girl.
I have talked about doing a small chunk on that because I specifically stayed away from the love spell part because I wanted to stay away from that part. But yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
will definitely, that's a good idea for me to do a small mini thing on that. Because yes,
Okay.
it can get obsessive. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for that. I will definitely do that. I have no problem doing that. Okay, I'm gonna
All
make a
right,
note.
no problem.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions or any other comments? Okay. Honestly, I kind of can't believe I just said I like to suck dick on a recording, but I did, and I just said it again. So, well, it is what it is. Okay, so let's see. Let's get into the practical ones that I have here. So this one really kind of has to do with the moon, and I like this one. So because of that, because I like working with the moon, as you guys know. And the reason why I say it has to be with the moon is because this one needs to be cast. Give me a sec. I want to make sure which one it is that I put in here for you guys. Because there's one that is on the waning and one is on, which one did I put in here? Okay, this is the waxing moon phase one that I did. Okay, because there's one for the waning and one for the waxing. I have two different times that I really like to do less spells. Also on Friday. So this lust spell, it really harnesses the power of the moon's phases and the turning of the seasons to really excite the lust within you and your chosen partner. Its magical strength derives from a very complex interaction of both the natural and supernatural powers, and plus the liminal space that's created within the phases of the moon. For magical workings to increase desire and attraction, you should really cast your spell for this one beneath a waxing to a full moon, so in between that phrase. And then by casting it during the right time, you actually also end up increasing the potency. So it doesn't mean that you can't cast something like this whenever you want. It's your practice. You can use things whenever you would like to. And you can tinker with things whenever you would like to. But it will increase the potency if you have it within these specific time frames, the waxing to the full moon. And once you really have this going, like, you will really start to notice like stronger bonds between you and your partner. You'll start to feel like a lot more excited. New things will start popping up. A lot of stuff like that. You might have some new ideas coming in, or like new kinks that you want to bring in and things like that. A lot of times when I do this one, that's what'll happen, is all of a sudden that'll kind of like change a little bit. Things you'll need for this is going to be a red candle, some musk oil, or if there's a different scent that you prefer, kind of like, I could agree with maybe switching out like one of the more woodier ones like sandalwood, but I just think musk oil is the best. You can use rose incense, and then you need a picture of the person that you desire. If you are wanting to do this for yourself, put a picture of yourself in there, because like I said, I feel like any of this can be switched for solo work or yourself, or a partner. So the picture of the one that you desire, and then you want a fire safe container or bowl. So those are what you will need. Like I said, you want to cast this during the waxing moon phase. You're going to prepare for your spell like you would any other spell or incantation. You're going to cast your circle. You're going to make sure that you've cleansed and consecrated your candle. You're going to make sure that your candle's been anointed with your musk oil. So you're going to make sure that you do all of that. And then you will make sure you light the candle first, and then you light the incense, and then you put the picture of the one that you were desiring in front of the candle. I say that specifically because you want to make sure that all that intention and energy is directed, literally like it's getting directed directly to that individual. And also for visualization purposes. When you're doing this, you're then going to chant the following: to the universe and the divine energy of sexuality, increase, and then you'll say the target's name, the feeling of euphoric lust in a hasty fashion. And you'll say awake, and then the target's name, the need for physical affection, as well as, why did I put her? I don't know, I guess, interesting for me, as well as her sexual attraction. And then say the target's name, long and lust for me. I respectfully accept her plea. And then amen, aho, so mote it is. So you can change out he, her, they. I'm surprised I did that. I mean, I am bisexual, but it's been a very long time since I've been with a woman. So I'm very surprised I did that. That might be something I need to look at. And then you will actually take the candle into your right hand and drink some wax onto the picture. And then while doing so, you can ask arrows. I have arrows in here. Like I said, I don't always do this, and it depends on your relationship with arrows, but you can ask arrows and the moon for their help. Otherwise, you can simply ask the moon, you can ask the divine sexual energy, you can ask the universe, whatever you would like to put there, but I would make sure the moon's a part of it. And then you speak to them so that they can hear you. And then while you're holding up the candle, you communicate your wishes to the moon and the entire universe. And by wishes, I mean exactly what you are asking for in this sexual relationship, in this desire, in this lust. You need to be clear and intentional. And make sure, and like, it's going to be intensified, and the potency is going to be stronger if you're also visualizing that work with you. You build up absolutely as much energy as you possibly can while you are doing this. You make sure that you're visualizing and you're building that up, and you're amassing that energy while you are doing that. And then when you are done, you're going to put that candle completely down, and you're going to let it just burn out. You're going to let it go till it burns out, till it goes out naturally. And then when it's done, you're going to take that picture and you're actually going to hide it underneath your mattress. Two schools of thoughts here with that as well. I have tinkered with both ways here, and I've kind of had different results. when I have done this because I am the issue and I am doing this to try to like reawaken like my lust or it's like my issue, I have put the picture underneath my side of the mattress. When I have a target involved, like my husband, I have put the picture on his side of the mattress. I recently have started putting it in, put it in the middle, and so far that has also had a very different outcome. So keep that in mind. Like that may change, like the potency, how it's gonna affect, what it's gonna do. So you may need to tinker with that. Exactly like where specifically you're gonna place that. And then you keep it there until it's needed. Like you can keep it, you just keep it there until it's needed. If you see an immediate increase, like in a day or two, like you can remove it. If you want to keep it there for an entire lunar cycle, you can keep it there. If you want it there for a year, you can keep it there for a year. It's just really going to depend on you and you know how long you need that there. Personally, I don't think I've ever had anything there for longer than a lunar cycle. I don't think because lust spells are pretty potent. So I don't think I've ever had anything there for, like I said, longer than a lunar cycle. Okay, so before I go into the next one, I'll jump in the chat, see if you have any questions about that one. Katie, I'm gonna guess what you're laughing at, and I'm gonna accept it. Go ahead, honey.
Can you do the spell like if you're in a couple and it's both of you? Could you like both do it towards each other
Oh yeah, for
with
sure.
with like a picture of both of you and yeah?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I've literally done it to where like it's I've had an entire circle of candles and for like a whole other thing. I just didn't put that in here because that's a lot more advanced. But yeah, you definitely can both do that. You can both have that intention go towards each other. There's not an issue with that. It's gonna be it's be prepared for like a fun ride. Be prepared for a fun experience. Like there's gonna be a lot of passion there, but you definitely both can do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
You can tell this is my topic.
I was saying you like this topic, and I like that a lot.
Because this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I
Oh,
do.
I love that.
Oh yeah, this is what I do, girl. Yeah. I was gonna add, and maybe you've already done it. Like I said, I missed part one. I think it's very important for both people, who partners, whatever, to go. It's a website called BDSM.org. I think it's really important for everybody to know, like, what's their love passion, what's their style, because before you start really working your spell, you want to know your style and that person's style. I don't know the wording that I can use because this is gonna go on YouTube, but
I get what you're saying.
yeah, like this is a whole nother world when you get into this. Like it even before you reach the spell part, because if you have someone like if you need to know your style, if you're a dom or you a submissive, like I just learned this style called mommy doms, and I'm like learning about mommy doms and when you start learning, like if your partner likes praise, kink, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all these things, if you go to anybody goes to BDSM.org, you'll learn more of these terms. Then you'll know how to tailor your incantations, your evoking, your spell work, because like you said from the beginning, you want to make sure that your needs are being met as well as your partner's. And you need to know your style and etc before you start the spell, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, and I love the input, and I thank you so much for saying that. I did not give that website because I personally didn't know about it. So I'm gonna add it to my study guide after
BD,
this.
and they have a short test and the long one. It is worth doing the long one, and it's free. BDSM.org. And listen, it is really fun to share like your test results with your friends. One of my friends, I know she lied because she came up vanilla. And like, you are a Sagittarius dominatrix. Ain't no way in the world you came up vanilla. But all jokes aside, it's really, really important to know the style of the person that you're putting a spell on, because so many people are doing love work, lust work for many different reasons. And you want to know that person, especially if you want to like do a come to me spell. And I don't know. I'm gonna stop.
I totally agree, and I totally love it. I did do a chunk of it in part one.
Oh, okay. See,
But like
that's
I
why
said, I
I
definitely did not know about this site. So I'm really excited about this site because a lot of my knowledge has
yes.
come through my own personal growth and like my own personal journey. Like when it comes to like kinks and stuff, like because I'm now just getting to like femdom and just understanding like what that is. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
what like that.
And you know what's so funny is once you take the test, you know, for everyone who's listening, once you take the test, then you can just watch YouTube videos. You can just type in all your answers in YouTube. And I promise you, there's going to be someone talking about it on YouTube to give you more information. Um, because sometimes, like what I'll tell some of my clients that come to me, they're so interested in just their needs, their wants, they're wanting, and it cannot be selfish,
Nope.
you know, especially if you're like, I don't know what you guys talk about, but if you're trying to get somebody to come back, what if they're already getting their needs met over there? And if you want to lure that person back, you better darn well know what will lure them back to you. And then you, like you said, you use your moon phases, your planetary hours, your herbs that's associated, etc. And it will make your spell work a lot easier and a lot less expensive, because this can get expensive.
Yes. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Oh gosh, I love that you have so much input and I love this so much. And again, I love that I'm gonna be on that website right after this, to be honest. I'm gonna be on the I didn't know about that. And I'm adding it to my study guide too. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
and
for
a
that.
lot of people know if you're trying to dominate someone, don't necessarily put any of your bodily fluids in that domination spell. I learned that the hard
That's
way.
a very fair point. Yes. Yes. Oh, I love this. I love this. Okay. What do I see in the chat? Okay, so we have some people saying that the test is relatively accurate, just so everybody knows. And it's a fun test to take. Just so you know. So this test is actually, yep, we're getting what's the word that I'm looking for? Good reviews in the chats. That's what I'm gonna try to say. So yes, I'm gonna add that to study guide right after this. And like I said, I'm gonna go do it. Oh, we need an okay, Morgan. If this doesn't go too long, because I do have to like tuck my kid into bed. If it doesn't go too long here and I get through these spells, we can try and do that. I can try to do that. So I can try to do that at the end here. Okay. So then maybe we won't go through all the spells. Maybe I'll just go through a couple more and you guys can go through it in your study guide and then we can do the Q&A that you guys are asking for. That's something that we could possibly do too. So spell to increase attraction. This is the no tools or items needed. I actually really went over this. Yep, I went over that for the most part. So you guys can go over that. The midnight sex ritual, which I like quite a bit. You need a red candle, new golden pins, so pins that have never been used before. So make sure like they've literally never been used before. You need wooden matches, so like literally wooden matches. You use the pin to actually engrave the name of the person you love vertically on the candle. Then you stick the pin in the middle of each letter of his or her name. And then every night at midnight, you light the candle with a different match. You let it burn until the first golden pin falls, and then you repeat that every single night until all others have fallen down. When the last pin falls and there are matches left, you burn them and you bury the remains of the candle in the matches. This ritual is best if you have it starting on a Thursday between midnight and 3 in the morning, and then you continue it until you are done, because it's going to depend on how many letters there are in the name. That one, like I said, pretty simple. And that one is literally to increase lust, it's to increase sexual pleasure, it's to increase sexual attraction as well. And I've used that one a few times. I like that one a lot. Sometimes it's a little annoying to get up every single night and go and do it at midnight. But if that's something that you're dedicated to do and you want to do, it is pretty effective. Another powerful lust spell that I have here that I've used before and how it's done is you take a sheet of colored paper of any size that you want. You write your full name on it, and below you write the name of the person you desire, the one that you want to increase your lust with, the one that you want to increase your attraction with, and the one that you want to open up that expansion with. You write their birth date of the loved one and then yours, and then you draw a heart around absolutely everything that you wrote. You then rewrite everything 3 times on that same piece of paper, and when everything is finished, you fold it up as many times as you possibly can. You burn it within the flame. Try to use a red or a red-orange candle, and then you do it to where it's reduced completely to ashes, to where that paper is literally completely to ashes. While the candle burns, you recite the following spell 3 times. Burning and alive is fiery, red is the color of desire. And you repeat the entire process for 9 consecutive days. And then you do it again if you need to rekindle that passion or reignite it. To enhance this spell as well, you can do it in a poorly lit room. You can have red fabrics decorating up, and you can also burn sandalwood or any type of incense. And then you can have a person of the picture nearby as well. A lot of times for most love spells, most like attraction spells and things like that, that picture, it's going to intensify. It's going to be able to direct the energy as well and be able to amplify it. This one specifically really does amplify your lust, your carnal passion. Like if you feel any type of sexual tension or feel like there's been like any type of like miscommunication with your sex life and like things just aren't quite connecting quite right, this really helps to like break free from that and to really like really amplify being able to break free from that. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm going to touch on a couple of things here, and then I'm going to let you guys actually do that Q&A here. So we have love spell candles that I wanted to just touch about briefly, that can be used for lust as well. They can be used for a lot of different things. You use them to symbolize the joining of the physical world with the spiritual, and the right scent really sets the stage for whatever it is that you're chanting. Aromas really help enhance that sexual pleasure, that sexual experience. Like I said, it can be used as an aphrodisiac in senses, and depending on what you're using for that scent and that spell. So it really can help enhance that as well. I actually put an entire this really awesome blog post that I have that's super detailed, that breaks it down, that I found about a lot of what each specific candle means, what you can call it to and call it forth. I put that link in there for you guys to look at. So if you want to know specifically what you can use for what, you can definitely check that out. So there are obsession lust spells as well, which is kind of talked about a little bit before. An obsession spell is really a love spell that aims to literally make somebody completely obsessed with you. It can be performed using a lot of different various methods. It can be performed using chants. It can be used invocations. It can be used for using candles, herbs, a lot of different types of tools. The goal for these are really to create this is beyond lust. This is an incredibly intense, obsessive need for physical intimacy, for desire, for attraction toward a very targeted individual. I didn't do much more about this because this morality, ethically wise, isn't something that falls underneath something that I like to do within my magical practice. I have studied on it. I have, done a lot of research on it, and I have learned a lot about it, but it's just something that morality wise, I don't like how intense the obsession gets. I don't like the side effects of the obsession. I don't like the unintended side effects of the obsession to the target. Especially if you are performing these on somebody that you are not in a committed relationship. And I feel like a lot of times that's when these are being used, is they're being used on somebody when you're not in a committed relationship, and this obsession can get really intense. It can get to the point where it can. I personally haven't dealt with it, but I know a few people that have had side effects of like stalking can get to and can happen. Like this can become a thing. So I did put
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Not doing obsession. I do that for clients for different reasons. But I was just saying, even with love spells, sometimes you might add a little bit more mojo than you need it. And it can make someone become obsessed. And that necessarily was not your goal. It was just talking about
yes.
the consequences.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Sorry, there's a question here. I apologize. Like a thumbtack or yeah, like a sewing pin. Like you can get the gold like sewing pins. Otherwise, you can also like even get I have found gold like paper clips that I've taken and I've like completely opened up. But I prefer like to use like the gold like sewing ones. But honestly, I don't yeah, a lot of times I like to say it doesn't matter, but I feel like with this one, I kind of feel like it does. Because I don't know how the other ones are really gonna, yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be my answer for that one. Okay, so yeah, so like I said, you can check out that article if you want to know more about how to do them and things like that, because it's gonna be up to you and your morality how you feel about it. Personally, like I've been with my husband for 13 years, so I think that there would be detrimental side effects to me doing an obsession lust spell. No, I don't. I don't know, just not something that I've chosen to be a part of, but I think they're great if you want to use them. Just really think about how you feel about them and make sure that you think about unintended consequences, especially like I said, if you're not in a committed relationship, that's just my main concern with them. But again, look at it from your own personal perspective and figure out how it feels for you. So what sex magic can accomplish for you, like I've talked about a lot already, it can really, the purpose of these spells is to bring love, passion, lust, and desire back into your relationship. It doesn't matter like what caused you to drift apart. These can help pull you back together. Now, disclaimer on that though, it doesn't mean that you still don't have to do the relationship work. It doesn't mean that you still don't have to sit there and have the hard talks and you have to actually do the work for the marriage. Like you don't have to actually communicate with each other, make sure that you're growing together in the same direction. It doesn't mean that you don't have to still do any of that. This enhances and brings a desire back into your relationship in the sexual energy aspect and that love in that connection. There are many different facets to a relationship and a marriage. This is just one part of it. So I do want to have that disclaimer there. That doesn't mean that you don't still, you don't still do all that hard stuff. You don't have the hard conversations. You don't communicate back and forth with each other on daily life things. Like this doesn't solve all of that or just take any of that away. But this really does, like I said, it brings up those old feelings. It helps bring that spark reappear, reconnects that bond and makes it stronger. I honestly don't really care what anybody says, but like people can try to say like sex isn't important to a relationship all they want, but it is. Like if you don't have that intimacy connection, like it's just different. And that connection is just different, and that cosmic portal that it opens up between you two is just different if it's not there. Um, and again, like I said, what else it can accomplish for you is you can work in all kinds of ways in relationships. Like I talked about in part one, using sex magic for manifestation is amazing. It's one of the most powerful ways that you can manifest. And really, it really helps a lot in your exploration for yourself too. It can help you with healing sexual traumas. It can help you with empowering yourself. It can help you open up your self-worth. And help you also really know who you are. It can really, really help you know who you are. And that's really big with that. Oh crap, guys. Yep, that's exactly why I decided to skip all those spells too, because I gotta talk about sex magic with deities.
I was okay. I was about to add or
Go. No, go. You can go ahead and add. Go for it.
I wanted to add to the section you just went over about
Yeah.
increasing your attraction.
Yep.
And I was gonna say, for anyone who's interested, a good way to increase your attraction is to work with your deity, and that's where you're leading into, I think. is either the deity that's assigned to you depending on the path that you're on, or the deities that you like to work with. I remember when I first started learning, we had to dress in her colors for a whole week, and we had to eat what would be her offerings. And it just helps you to embody your deity, because if it's your deity, they see something in you that is also in them, and vice versa. And that will definitely increase your attractiveness when you're working, especially if it's a love deity. That's all.
Yep. Yes, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing it. I absolutely love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's see. So we're getting into sex magic with deities here. Like I talked about before, it's not hard to do and hard to have deities be a part of sex magic. It's a whole different energy, and it's encompassing. I just feel like it's encompassing, and it does change perspective. Depending on how you do it as well, whether you're calling them in for solo work or to be a part of your partners, or whether you're doing it from a vessel standpoint as well, which is just a whole other thing. But you can definitely use deities to increase your sex life. You can use deities to increase your connection. You can use deities to increase your pleasure as well. You can use deities to enhance any type of these. I have taught many classes on working with deities. I have taught many classes on working with specific deities. One thing that if you've been to many of those classes, you've heard me say repeatedly over and over again. The reason why I say like it's not hard, but it's encompassing, is because my philosophy is if you do any type of work with a deity, I do not agree with just calling in random deities out of nowhere. You need to put in the work to understand who that deity is. You need to build a connection to that deity, and you need to have that respect, that veneration, and that honor for that deity established. So that's why I say this is encompassing, because this requires a lot of connection to that deity first. It requires a lot of understanding of that deity, and it requires a lot of work ahead of time. You can't just bring deities into sex magic out of nowhere. That's personally how I feel about it, because I feel like I said, I teach that working with deities, like you really need to understand them. That's why I love that you had just talked about the fact that like you literally had to wear their colors for a week and eat their offerings and do that. I have done that I do that often with deities. I literally have them in my home for dinners. Like they have their own plates, they're part of my life. Like I really build that connection with them. So that's something personally how I feel about and how I teach it. If you want to call on random sex deities, and you certainly can, and that's going to be totally up to you and how you feel about your practice and how it fits into you. But I just feel like that veneration, that respect, and that honor needs to be there. You need to make sure that connection is there. Some commonly used ones are Aphrodite from the Greek mythology, because she's connected to the Greek goddess of love, beauty, and sexuality. And she really represents like the ideal physical emotional attraction. You also have the Greek god Eros. He's also commonly known as Cupid in Roman mythology. He is used for love and desire. You have Pan as well, the Greek god of the wild. He really embodies a very primal sexuality and fertility. He is one I personally have used because I do have a connection and I do have a relationship with him. Ishtar, she's from Mesopotamia. Ishtar is a Mesopotamian goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. I have also personally worked with her as well. Not a ton, but I have worked with her a little bit when it comes to sex magic. Freya is super common to be used in sex magic. She's very common. She actually almost has her own, almost like her own branch actually at this point with how often she's used. And Freya is the Norse goddess associated with love, beauty, and fertility. She represents sensuality and the joys of physical attraction. And I think that's a big reason why she's used, because she's beyond just the love and beauty and fertility. She's really sensual. Like she really does bring in that sensual vibe and that sensuality and that empowerment that comes with sensuality, which I feel like why she's really common. Inanna, which is from the Sumerian mythology, she is the goddess of love and beauty and desire. She also has a very sacred role in marriage rituals. So she's commonly used as well. Dionysus, which is the Greek god of wine, ecstasy, and fertility. He's used super often. I see him very commonly used, especially with his connection to wine and drunkenness and things like that. You have Astarte, which is from the Phoenicians and the Canaanites mythology. Astarte is the goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. And I personally just started trying to develop a connection strong enough with her to be able to pull her into sex magic. I have personally become incredibly fascinated with the Phoenicians and the Canaanites, but that's because I'm on a personal hunt for Atlantis, so they are maybe possibly tied to them. But I so far have really liked what she's opening up for me, so I would recommend looking into her. And then you also have, there's so many more in here, guys. You can just take a look, honestly. I put a pretty long list in here. There's quite a few deities that you can use to work with. Like I talked about before, I personally really like using Lilith as well when it comes to lust and sex magic, because she can liberate and open up a lot when it comes to sexual trauma and comes to your empowerment, your freedom, and she really opens you wide open. I love using her in solo sex magic work and solo lust magic work. And then I also personally, like I touched about a little bit towards the beginning, I use Persephone and Hades when it comes to partner magic. So lust magic and all of that. I use Persephone and Hades. For one, I consider myself a vessel for her. She is my patron deity. I have many rights and contracts with her. And I absolutely adore and I am enamored with Hades and Persephone's love and their connection and their story. And so like that just drips for me, and I'm able to really call forth how much passion they have for each other into my lust spells. And because I have such a deep connection to them, it also creates that potency. So that's something to think about when it comes to deities as well, which I hope I'm pronouncing your name right too. Gane had talked about too. So she had talked about that too before, where she's like, if you can use ones that are your specific deities or ones that are specifically tied to love or fertility or sensuality or anything like that. So when it gets time to work with them, you want to make sure getting ready, you want to connect with them. You want to make sure that you approach them from a place of confidence, of positivity, of calmness. You want to make sure you approach them with veneration and respect and honor and connection. And sometimes, like I said, if you're dealing with sex issues, if you're still working through some sexual trauma or, self-worthiness or body image issues, which can sometimes be a part of this too, I know that it can be hard to do that, but you want to try your very best to be coming from that place when you're going to bring a deity. So make sure that if you need to do any type of shadow work beforehand, you do. If you need to get grounded, if you need to meditate, if you need to do anything like that, try your very best to do that, because you want to make sure you don't have negativity or sadness or frustration coming in, because you don't want that to overpower any of the positivity and the passion that you're creating. And you don't want that to overpower that connection that you're trying to establish with that deity. And you don't want them to also accidentally think that frustration, sadness, or negativity is unintendedly going to cause them to feel like it's going towards them, which may cause that connection to not be quite so stable. To get ready for your deity, you can do things like there's literally no like fixed rule, but like whatever you need to do to create a strong connection with that deity. So for me, I have an incredibly strong connection with Persephone and Hades. They have a permanent altar in my home. And so like that's one of the first things that I do is I go to my altar. I go and literally there are times where I summon them, sometimes I just pray to them. It really just depends. But I do whatever I need to do in that moment to connect them. Every time it's different, whether it's giving an offering, whether it's sitting in a meditative space with them, whatever it is, I go to that space. So it may be different for you. You may simply just need to meditate. You may just need to, give an offering to them. You may just need to be looking at a sigil and focusing on a sigil that has to do with them. Whatever it is that it has to do with that deity, to help you connect, that's what you want to do. You can, like I said, you can do these you can always do your magic any day, any times that you would like, but if you choose specific times, the potency can be affected. With deity work with sex magic, I really like doing it on Fridays. It's a great day to work on love, passion, and lust. And it's just it's really all about that. And otherwise, a lot of times you can do this right before or after you're meeting up with your partner. It really depends on how you want this work to be done. Typically, I'm doing it before. How you set up your space. So you set up your space to connect with your deity with something that you need to truly establish a strong, powerful connection. This may be different for each individual depending on your practice and your connection with that deity. You can do, I almost always am using a red candle, which I talked about before, because I just love the element of fire being attached to lust and sex magic. I love that the fact that that red energy that sex sits in is represented. And I personally just like visualization is really the flame and candle gives you a really great spot to be able to focus. And then it just helps and the color also represents, sex for, passion and all of that. You then will end up using a picture for your target. And by target, I mean not the deity. This is either yourself if you are the target, or it's a picture of, your spouse, your partner, the loved one, your boyfriend, whoever it is that you're trying to do this with. Whoever you are trying to strengthen your connection, your chemistry with, whoever that is, or that's what you're doing. You use the image of the deity then as well to connect with as well. When you feel comfortable with this part, you bring an image or a picture or even a figure of the deity to connect with them. And you can have it be in your bedroom at all times if you'd like, so that they're always there and they're in an intimate spot with you, or it can be something that you just bring to be a part of it with you. But usually, for me, I have one permanent altar in my bedroom, but that's actually not typically where we're having sex. So I also have one in my living room. And then there are also times where I simply bring in a sigil, or I put their sigil on my body as well. And then I also probably bring in, sometimes their statues are there. So it really just depends on what you want to do, but you can bring in whatever you feel comfortable to be able to bring in to have them be a part of it. There are also times to where I don't bring anything physical at all. It's all done through my energetic connection that I already have with that deity, through invoking them, through visualization and meditation. So it really just depends on how you want to do this. So once you have brought that deity, then you have that representation. Then if you're going to be using them, a physical representation, then you want to get into a meditative state and start visualizing. And this is to where, like, you do what you need to do to be able to get into that energetic space, to get in that sacred container, and you connect specifically with that deity. So you use that image if you need to, and you do what you need to do to connect specifically with that deity through visualization. And you share the vision of your sex life that you want to be able to have, whether you're doing it with that deity being present and being a part of it, whether you're just asking them to help assist with it, that's going to be up to you. Sometimes I am asking deities to simply assist and to simply lend me, their energy, lend me that archetype energy to simply help bless, to simply help enhance and amplify. Other times I'm specifically wanting them there and a part of it. And I literally want them a part of that experience. So it really just depends on what you're calling forth and what you're going to be doing with that. So once you have that vision of your sex life and you've shared that with your deity, you then release it to them. You speak it to them, you release it to them, you make it be a part of, you make it known to them exactly what that image is that you want it to be. And then you can let it go. This is for if you're doing just specific visualization work and meditation work. And then if you're calling them in, then they can stay and be a part of that experience. So this is if you're doing it before or after the experience. If you want them to be a part of it, then you literally let that energy go so they can be a part of it. When you are done with that sexual act, you want to make sure you acknowledge that they were a part of it. You want to thank them that they were a part of it, and you want to make sure that you release them as well. Because in a sense, you almost kind of like created a circle and summoned them in a sense. So you want to make sure you close that out. So again, it really just depends on how you're trying to use them. If you're using them just enhance, that's why it's that meditative, that visualization. You bring it in, you share that vision of your sex life, and you let it go to them so that they can connect that energy to enhance, amplify, and to bring forth that vision of your sex life to you. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the chat, see if we have any questions or if we have any input we want to have. Can your spirit guides help you with sex magic? I don't see why not, but I don't think I've ever personally worked with them like that, or I don't think I've read of anybody doing. I'm gonna have to look into that, Jenny, for you. I personally do not bring spirit guides into that because I don't. But I don't see why you couldn't, and I haven't read about it, so I'm gonna have to look into this for you and get back to you on that one. Okay, do we have any questions or any comments or anything?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
A little bit ago you mentioned Pan,
Yeah.
and I couldn't remember the nymph he had fell in love with, so I had to Google it while you were talking. And her name was Syrinx.
Yep.
And I would love to just like learn about what energy was Syrinx emanating at the moment where like he just wanted her no matter what. I'm like, that was some real,
Right?
she was giving us something.
Right?
But I just wanted to add a commentary when you were saying about pictures for people who are new who will be using pictures. I was taught, I guess people can do what they want, but I was taught that when you use a picture, you want to make sure that their eyes are showing, their forehead is showing, and their head is not covered.
Yes, I was taught that as well. And I thank you for making that point. I should have put that disclaimer in there. Thank you for bringing that up because I was taught that as well.
I got you. I know, girlfriend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I felt like I was missing something too. So I thank you. Okay, let's see. Where am I at here? Okay, so the last chunk of the study guide is really 3 specific deities and how to work with them. I picked 3 common ones, and I know they're Roman and Greek, but I picked 3 common ones. So if you really want specifics, you can take a peek in the study guide, and those can be some places to start if you want to start doing that. You have Voluptia. I never can pronounce her name because I always want to say the word that her name like. Voluptus, which is the Roman goddess of pleasure. And she really helps you, like, if there's anything missing, like, she's really able to, like, let you name it, make it very clear, make you very aware of it, and really help you, like, boost that sex drive, especially with pleasure in a couple. She's really, really good for that. So you can take a look at that. I have specifics in there. I have a prayer for her, like offerings, how you can connect with her, things like that. Then we have Eros, the great god of sexual desire. He's really playful. He's super playful, so just be aware of that. Like he's incredibly playful. So you really want to approach him in that manner. And if you're a man or your partner's a man, like they're a really good fit for them. They really help them not hold themselves back at all and be super vocal about what they want. I don't know about you, but like I feel like sometimes men seem to struggle with that a little bit, and I'm not quite sure why. I would like to figure that out, and I'm gonna work on that, ponder that a little bit. But I feel like sometimes they kind of struggle a little bit being vocal about what it is they specifically want. I don't know if they're just worried about being shamed or judged, or because they've seen it somewhere and they're worried about being asked where they've seen it. I don't know what it could be a lot of different things. But he really, really helps like not allow you to hold yourself back, even if you're a woman and from a female standpoint, like that. If you're more, you're more feminine, also helps do that too. Super, super playful. It helps like, yeah. I honestly, he really helped when it came to like me open up, being willing to like sexting and like things like that and like venture out into like a little bit different of, play. a little bit more like playful type things, like more public things like that. Like he's really good for that. And then I did put Aphrodite in here as well because, you know, she's really popular to be used. She's Greek goddess of sexuality, pleasure, and procreation. She really needs to be respected though. She really likes respect and kindness. So please be aware of that with her. And she's really good to if you have a low sex drive and low self-esteem revolving around your sex life. She's really good with that and opening up that and really increasing that libido and increasing, like really helping you understand like what your divine body really can do when it comes to sex. Like so many things. And there's so many parts of your body that are just so sexual. And there's so many different things that you can do to your body. And like she really, really helps open up that. So you can really take a peek at that and see if you want to work with her on that. Okay, guys. We have gone through, I think, everything that I wanted to talk about in part 2. So I will see if you guys have any questions or any comments or any concerns. And then if you guys would like to, yes, you can also enchant your lingerie. Thank you for putting that in there because you can certainly do that. You can enchant your toys too. You can totally enchant your toys. You can add any type of like aphrodisiacs and like herbs mixed in with lubes to your toys. I've done that because toys are amazing. Toys are amazing. So you can do that too. You can also put sigils on your toys to help amplify that as well when it comes to lust. And I have also included toys in some of my lust casting spells. I have actually had them be a part of that and like had them be a part of that energy. Because yeah, if you're going to be using that, you can totally do that. Especially if you use any like, yeah, dildos like cock sleeve, things like that. Like you can really enchant them. They're already meant to super increase your pleasure, and then you add that on top of it, and whew, those orgasms are amazing. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm happy I could give that to you. Yay, amazing. Yay. Yeah, you can totally enchant your toys. Okay, any questions, any comments, anything else that you guys have about Sex Magic Part 2? I was, yeah, I gave you guys a lot. I was pretty personal. I let you guys, yeah, this is sex and I'm super open about it. And I love it. I love what this does to your life. It opens up so much for you. And it's just, yes, it's just, yes, yes. Okay, any questions, anything else? Thank you. Oh, I love it. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, any questions, any comments or anything like that? And then, like I said,
have a comment.
go ahead.
You, I don't know if this is common. This is something that I learned from my boyfriend. He's a warlock. How you can incorporate zodiac signs into your love work. And I didn't realize that. We had a falling out, and I guess he wanted to sweeten me up, and I'm a Pisces. And so he bought the Swedish fish, you know, the Swedish fish.
Yep.
And I'll just stop there.
Yes. So
I guess he wanted to sweeten this fish up, you know, because I was like, Pisces this and Pisces that, and we don't take shit. And I guess he was like, oh, I'm going to sweeten this fish up.
Yes, you definitely can. So that's actually a huge part of like even like my husband and mine's like partnership and marriage and life is like we're very aware. I'm a I'm a I'm a very, very, very big Virgo. Virgo is literally in 9 of my 12 houses. And he's a Capricorn and he has it in many of his houses. Side note, my son's a Taurus. Like this house is so much earth energy, it's insane. And we are all neurodivergent. It's just nuts. But so yes, we are very aware of how much that affects us and we play it to our advantage all the time. There are even times to where like I will literally do things because I know the goat in him, like he just needs it because he needs some like goats are they are so egotistical. Like honestly, like anybody wants to tell me any other sign is more egotistical than a Capricorn, I will argue tooth and nail on it, to be honest. They think that they are literally the zodiac's gift to the universe. So yes, you can definitely play on that and help like enhance that and bring that into your lust and your sex life and your sex magic. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay. So I don't see any of the questions or comments. So what I'll do is I'll do the little closing thing, and then I have about probably 15 minutes that I can probably give you guys to sit here and unrecord it if you guys would like for Q&As. Before my little one needs to go to sleep. He's probably still waiting for me. So thank you guys for being here, especially if you're watching the recording. I really hope that this was helpful. I hope this can help enhance your life and do so much for you in a magical sense, plus your marriage and relationship, because those are incredibly sacred to me personally. And that's why I love this topic so much. And so I'm so happy that you guys are here with me, that you're willing to watch this. And yeah, hopefully I didn't make anybody feel too uncomfortable with my own personal truth. If I did, then I apologize. I'm just super open about it. So thank you for being here with me tonight, you guys. And yeah, I'm gonna end the recording now. So nope, I don't want to end the meeting. That's not what I want to do. End recording.